Hi Taurus, welcome to Key Wisdom Tarot. My name is Ruth, I'm your Reiki Master and Tarot Reader, and this, my darlings, is your extended reading for the month of May, June and July 2020. Now, it was my will to look at what we are facing this month, May, June, July, what we are facing in these months, what's coming towards us at this month, what can we expect. And I really wanted to give us a broader view, okay, a broader view of the type of things that we could be expecting. Now, you know that I always like to look at the moon and the star, the moon and the sun, i.e. the actions and experiences, and also what's going on beneath the surface. So I'll try to do that throughout the reading as we go. Now, what you see before you is what I see. I assure you, I shuffle, I've shuffled and dealt, and then I've turned over the card as you see. So we're going to start, my darlings, as always, with the card at the base of the reading before moving on in detail to look at May, to look at June, and to look at July, and to look at what's coming forward toward you, Taurus, in this time period. So the card at the base of our reading is the Six of Swords. Interesting, because I was going to put that down there, and as this was the last card I dealt actually, and as I put that card, as I went to put it there, I flipped it over, which I never obviously do, and I realized that that's actually the card that's meant to be at the base of the reading. And this is the overall perspective that you need to see this time period through, my darlings. And for you guys, that is the Six of Swords. Now, as you know, sword energy is all about our thoughts, our conscious mind, our logical self, our reason, our ability to apply logic as well. Now, number 6 is related to our third eye chakra, which is our perception center, really. It's about what we know, it's about what we think. That's why the affirmation for that space is I know and I think. So this is really about your ability to see, the power of your mind. It's your brain, really, as well, your ability to balance that. And this really, the Six of Swords really does talk to you and talk to us about that, a balanced mind, about being able to embrace your experiences, the external experiences that you've had. The divine masculine, the divine feminine, and the inner child are actually pictured on this card here. So it's about being able to recognize the beauty and the worth and the value of the experiences that you have over this time period, recognizing that it's encompassing all those things, and giving thought to all those things, or becoming aware of all those things, that actually makes you fully who you are. So we start with the month of May and look at the beautiful energies that we've got here. So we start with the Sun card, then we have the Five of Cups, the King of Cups, and the Star card. So just as a sort of headline, I can tell you for May, this is really an energy of a huge amount of transformation for you guys going on this time, a huge amount of healing really that's going on for you guys, Taurus, in the month of May. We're seeing just from the headlines, as I said, we're seeing from the headlines here that there's a lot of release that's going on, but there's a lot of engagement going on. There's a lot of engagement with your emotional self, and also with how your emotional self, how you feel emotionally, how that is actually impacting your actions. So that relationship, if you will, between your internal, your subconscious, your divine feminine, your moon sign, if you will, that connection between that and the external you, so what you're doing, those two things becoming more in balance, and you really starting to pay attention to that. You're really starting to pay attention to what you're doing, and to how what you're doing is affected by what you're feeling. That's the headline for May. So we look closely, first of all, at the Sun card here, card number 19 in the major arcana. So it's a 10. So we know that 10, 1, 0, we know that 10s are about new starts, aren't they? New beginnings. And this is about your authenticity. This is about your ability to feel free to be yourself, the ability to feel free to be who you are, to show the world the truth of who you are, to show yourself the truth of who you are, to step out into the light. This is what we see with this energy. It's a very positive energy, actually, and it's an energy of freedom, is a Sun card. It's an energy of power. It's linked to the solar plexus, which is your third chakra, which is the affirmation for that is that I can and I do, and that's your power center. That's your place of self-confidence, of self-esteem, and your ability to manifest. And as you can see, it's your power center, and there's a huge amount of personal power, a huge amount of freedom that we feel when we can be ourselves in the daily pulses. For those of you that have been watching the daily pulses that I upload every single day, there was a reading that I called freedom equals truth equals love. Freedom is truth is love. And that is what you're feeling. You're recognizing that I've got to be able to be me. I've got to be able to say what I feel. I've got to be able to connect with how I feel and not turn away from that. Because by doing that, I am showing myself compassion. I'm showing myself that I matter. I'm showing myself that I'm worthy enough to pay attention to my traumas, or to the things that have worried me, to the things that have hurt me, to the things that I need to release, which is what this card talks about. This is a Five of Cups now, so we're carrying on with this. This is not emotional. This is not water, actually. This is about divine masculine. So this is about the external expression, if you will, of our emotional self with the Sun card. And here, this is about our emotional world, our subconscious self, our divine feminine. Now, when I talk about our divine feminine, for those of you that watch our daily pulses every day, you know that I talk about the divine feminine as being everything that is you, that is non-physical. So your emotions, obviously, your subconscious self, your dreams, your desires, your fears, your worries, your hurts, all those things that aren't actually things that you can point to. It's not a car or a job or a relationship, but it's how you feel about these things. It's how you feel about who you are, about your outlook on yourself, if you will, how you perceive yourself. All these things are connected to the cups energy and to the emotional self. And this energy here, the Five of Cups, is about the emotional release. It's about the things that we carry with us, the emotional baggage, if you will, the emotional traumas, if you will, that we've had in our lives, that we are now moving beyond, that we are now releasing in order to bring in new energy, in order to bring in new experiences. The fifth heart chakra is I speak, I express. It's all about it's your communication center. Number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's your communication center. So it's again, it's about, I need to look inside and understand how I'm feeling. And in the month of May, there is that sort of reticence, or that retrospective self, or where we are contemplative. And that's because from the 25th of April, the retrograde season started, and the retrograde season will continue through the month of May, and it finishes, I think, toward the end of May, or maybe the beginning of June. I'll be doing an astrology video about that, and I'll post on social, so keep an eye out for that post. And in retrograde season, that means that a lot of the planets basically appear to be moving backwards in the sky. And how that affects us is it means that we're looking back, or we're put back in a place emotionally that we maybe thought we'd passed. But the reason we're put back in this place emotionally is so that we can finally see, recognize, and understand what is needed to be released. And during the month of May, this is what you're doing. You are maturing with your emotion, in the way that you tackle your emotions, in the way that you confront them, in the way that you look at them. And this energy, this story, if you will, is further emphasized by the King of Cups. Now, for those of you again that are watching Daily Pulses, I've been explaining a lot about the kings, the queens, and how and why, more specifically, how and why they relate to maturing engagement or maturing awareness in certain aspects of self, in certain aspects of our human experience, if you will. And in this instance, it's about handling our emotions, or not necessarily handling them or understanding them. It's more acting on them. It's more recognizing, again, the relationship between my emotional self and my actions, because it's divine masculine. So divine masculine is our external self, what we do in the world, the experiences that we have, the people that we speak to, etc. The things that we do, the things that happen. That's the divine masculine, the actions that we take. And this is obviously again related to our emotional self. So and we're the king. So we've matured. You're maturing throughout the month of May, Taurus, in a way where you are able to act on your emotions. You're able to include, if you will, the emotional wisdom that you've learned and gained, in order to use that to help you to act, in order to use that to drive your actions. And it doesn't mean that you're necessarily acting though in the month of May. Now, obviously, a lot of people are on lockdown around the world, as we know. We are over here. So, for example, it might be you might be thinking about a love life or a past love, for example. You might be thinking about that, and you might be, as I said, releasing that energy of the ex, or the old stuff, or the guilt, or the fear, or the pain that you felt from the old relationship. You might be contemplating those things in thought and in mind of moving forward. What you want to do is then to have conversations about that, or to start a new relationship, or to reconcile, or whatever it is, or to begin dating again, or whatever it is for you. But what it shows with the star card here as well, supporting these energies, is this insight and foresight. So it shows a growing understanding of the path that you're on, and also the path that you've been on, also the impact of the previous, the old stuff, how that affected me, how that affected how I felt about myself, how the old stuff affects my self-esteem. You are confronting it, you're shining a light on all that this month, in the month of May, because actually what you're understanding and realizing is that to move forward, which you are doing over this time period, to move forward, to be balanced, to have the type of relationships or commitments or love in my life that I want, and that goes for self-love as well, to have those things, you understand in the month of May that it is about the confrontation for yourself of the emotions. It is about looking at some of those energies. It is about releasing some of those old feelings that you felt, and feeling them, noticing them, hearing them, noticing, recognizing, understanding the impact that they've had on you up until now. The star card indicates, as I said, that foresight to know that this is necessary for me to move forward. This release is necessary for me to move forward. You inherently understand that. And I often say that you don't have to watch tarot to know what's coming. This is what's coming for all of us, for all Taurus. Even if your Taurus, if you're cross-watching, doesn't watch tarot, these are the type of energies that they're going to be going through and confronting over this time period as well. Okay, and it shows, as I said, that message sticks, if you will. That learning sticks. The energy of retrograde season sticks for everybody, because for you, Taurus, because look at this energy here. This is showing that you receive, if you will, all of the experiences that you've had the previous. You understand the journey that they've put you on. You understand the healing and the learning that you've been on because of this. So that is a really positive and strong, start for this time period. So now let's move forward to June. Let's have a look how we feel about June. So we have, well, I just said strong. We have the Strength card there. We have the 10 of Cups. I'm going to stop here just to tell you that when I was shuffling the cards, dealing, before I turned the camera on, these two cards and the 3 of Cups actually kept making themselves, shown. So it's funny that, and it's lovely that we see both of them here. I don't know if we'll see the 3 of Cups as well, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Okay, so we have the Strength card. So this is, as I said, June. We have the Strength card. We have the 10 of Cups. We have the Queen of Swords, and we have the Justice card. So again, we've got this balance. So let me just give you the quick headlines for June, just looking at June's energies here. What it shows is that progress is being made. For you are making progress in that emotional healing, in that it's old wounds really that you seem to be confronting and releasing, more to the point, in the month of May. And what seems to happen is there's a realization coming through. There's that mental clarity coming through for you now about the steps forward that are necessary, and the steps forward that are necessary for you as you in whatever way that you are thinking about. So it's about, whatever way you've been dealing with in May, the steps forward that are necessary for you in June. You are prepared to take those steps, and that's what we see here. We start with the Strength card, and the Strength card is number 8, and number 8 is the number of infinity, if you will. That's the infinity symbol, and it's the number of karma. It's a karmic number, and we go through, and when we look at the alchemical symbols and the hieroglyphic symbols of karma, basically, or of infinity, and when we look at those symbols, we understand by looking at those symbols that a karmic path or a karmic situation that we go through is in order for us to get to know ourselves. It's in order for our divine masculine, our external self, to meet our divine feminine, our subconscious self, our emotional self. It's in order that those two things become connected, if you will, that those two parts of yourself, of myself, start to talk to each other and start to listen to each other. And it demands strength, and it demands resolve, and it demands attention. It demands you to be committed, if you will, to listening to your emotions, to listening to your subconscious self, to responding to them, to noticing the impact of the old emotional wounds. It demands that from us. It demands that we start moving out into new directions, maybe taking new actions potentially. This is an active card. It's the strength card. It's fire, so it's obviously it's Leo's energy. And just think about, I often say this, just think about what fire does, the properties of fire, the actual, what is fire? I don't even know. Let's not get into physics. What is it? A force, I suppose, or a power, I suppose. Fire is, I don't actually know what to call it, but anyway, you know what fire is, and how it moves, and it's free, and it goes, and it rages, and it quells, and that's the freedom, really, that the strength card gives you. That's the freedom, really, that the energy of the number 8, the strength card, gives you. It means that you are going in this direction, we're drawn, where the fuel is, where the fire is, where the fun is, where the passion is. You're going in those directions, and you're not holding back. You're not caged in. You're free with the strength card to explore. And it's because you've been on a path, you've been on a journey before now, before June, before we reach this point in the karmic cycle, if you will. This is new karmic energy coming in. So it means that you're, as I said, going potentially in new directions, speaking differently, behaving differently. And it's because of this, really. It's because of this 10 of Cups that we see here. This is you being able to find your joy. Now, if we look in May, you have the 5 of Cups, and by June, we're into the 10 of Cups. And you could look at this week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. It doesn't matter, though. These are all energies that you're going to be facing and feeling over this time period. So we know that there's progress being made, isn't there? So a month later, from the retrograde season, we're moving on from the retrograde season, as I said, by this time, and you've found something inside yourself. You've found the well, or the seat of your joy, of what makes you happy. And what you realize is that what actually happiness is, what this thing that is happiness, what is it? This abstract sort of concept, almost. What is this thing that's happiness? You actually realize, and May teaches you, that happiness is about truth, is about freedom, is about the non-judgmental acceptance of your experiences, of your past actions. Even, you're not judging yourself because this is what happened to me in the past, so therefore I'm a bad person. No. What May teaches you is the truth. May teaches you that actually I am who I am because of everything I've ever experienced in my life. So I can't hate that. I can't hate that happened. I can't hate that I did that, because I wouldn't have the understanding and I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it wasn't for that previous version of me. So I can't hate who I used to be just because it was hard, or because I felt guilty about, or whatever, however it affects you. You recognize that there's strength in everything that you've been through, in everything that's happened in your life. It has actually provided you with a source of strength, and that's the source of joy. That's the well of joy that we find with the 10 of Cups. Differs from the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles, you can point at the job or the relationship or the family or the money. You can point at those things and say, look at all these things that I've been able to achieve. The 10 of Cups is different. And yeah, it might make you happy, the 10 of Pentacles, but the 10 of Cups is different. The 10 of Cups is that real internal joy, where you recognize and realize that it's all about my truth. It's all about me being authentic. It's all about being who I am. You know, you're as much a part of nature as anything else, as much as tiny dog, you know, you're as much a part of nature as that. So as the seasons, as they change, as the sea, as it moves, you're as much a part of nature as that. You're as natural a being as any bird that you see flying, or any butterfly that you see. You're as much a part of nature as that. So everything, just like in nature, these things do happen, and these things, that these trials that we go through and that we are going through and facing as a world, have an impact on who you are as an individual, who I am as an individual, on us, yes, on a mass world scale, like globally what's going on, but on an individual level it does. And what's been happening is that we've had to confront, we've had to look at, we've had to sit with ourselves over this last few months. And even if it's been hard and yes, challenging and yes, difficult, it's made us, in a way, it's helped us to see who we are. It's helped us to gain that clarity, that clear understanding, that clear perspective of who we are. And that's again indicated by these two energies here. So we've got two sword energies here, air energies, another air energy, which is again about our thoughts, our minds, our awareness, our engagement with our logical mind. And these are two actually feminine energies here, to be fair. And that's about what's within. So they're all about understanding, the divine feminines. They're all about understanding. That's because on the Tree of Life, those of you that watch Daily Pulses, you will know this. And the Tree of Life, number 2, the first divine masculine emanation, is about your wisdom, which is about the things that you do, what they teach you. So what you learn from the things that you do in life. Hence my channel's called Key Wisdom, because I talk about the reason I know these things is because I've learned them and I've done them. That's why I talk about them the way that I do. And understanding comes from the imprint that the external experiences leaves us with, the wisdom the understanding that we gain through that wisdom. That's what these talk about, and it's that actually is the driver for our change, or the driver for our next actions, if you will. And so the Queen of Swords here talks about that clarity in our minds. It talks about our maturing awareness, and also our maturing ability to communicate not only with ourselves about what we think, about what's true for me. You know, there's no place in your mind you will be afraid to go by the end of June. This is what we see. There's no place in your mind you'll be afraid to go. There'll be nothing that you're afraid to look at, because you recognize and realize, and May taught you as well, as June teaches you, that being able to see that, being able to engage with that, being able to reflect on what goes on in your head, the parts of yourself that you don't want to think about or look at, you realize that actually that is teaching me something. That is it's teaching me to look at that. It's teaching me to reflect on that. It's teaching me to allow myself to feel that. It's teaching me, so I'm going to keep engaging. That's what we see here. And also it brings in this justice, it brings in this balance. That's what we see. We see that by engaging, you find your joy. And also with the Strength card, it indicates again new experiences coming in. So you doing things differently in the month of June, you acting differently in the month of June, you treating yourself differently in the month of June, you having a new perspective about yourself and about the previous things that have happened in your life, whatever that might be for you as an individual, you having a different perspective on those things as we leave June and start July. And it brings in this balance with justice. It's all the truth and the foresight, really, with justice. It's all the knowledge and the wisdom, with a little bit more detail actually with justice, that we have here, this 11, this 1-1. Remember, number 2s are about commitments. They're about being committed to something. It's about partnerships and duality, and that's why it's balanced as well. It's about agreements, if you will, and contracts and partnerships, is the number 2. And so it's that agreement, it's that understanding that you reach. It's like coming to an understanding, coming to a better way of perceiving yourself, or a better way of perceiving the old things that have happened. It's coming to those type of conclusions by the end of the month of June. And it might be that means other people are involved. It might be that you're you're talking to somebody else and you're apologizing or whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter in that sense when it comes to other people. How it manifests in yourself, how it manifests in your life, is I don't know. But what the feeling that you're going to feel, and the change of perspective is real. So yeah, it might be that a conversation that you have with somebody helps you to reach that conclusion, but it could also be that you're going about your life, you're doing your thing, you're self-isolating, you're living your life as you're living it, and you're reflective and you're meditative, and you're doing better exercise, or you're keeping your house clean and tidy, or you're eating better, or whatever it is, and it's those processes that are actually helping you to come into that balance and that awareness and understanding. But yeah, sometimes it can indicate other people, apologies, etc. Okay, finally, let's have a look at July 2020. So we're moving forward. So look, again, we've got another 8 here, so it's really good to see the path that you're walking over this time period. And oh yes, well card, I love the foresight here. You are really maturing. Actually, you're Taurus. I'm going to tell you're becoming wise. I mean, that might not be new. That might be news to you now if you're watching it in the beginning of May. But if you're coming back and watching this in June or in July, you'll be like, yeah, do you know what, I am, and you're someone, as much as people talk about, us earth signs, so I'm a Capricorn, you're a Taurus, as being confident, and as having this sort of, confidence about ourselves. We are not the type to blow our own trumpets, or it makes us feel uncomfortable to talk about, yeah, I'm good, yeah, I'm this, yeah, I'm that. It makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable, but actually you're getting to that point. I can see it here. I can see the confidence coming through for you here. I can see it. Look at this confidence, you're getting to that point where you are going to be more confident and more able to look at yourself and say, do you know what, I've done well, during this lockdown period. I've done well, getting over, the ex. So I've done well, starting to in this new healthy eating regime, or whatever it is for you as an individual. You'll be able to say that about yourself, and you'll be able to believe that about yourself. And we start with the 8 of Cups, then we have the World card, the Emperor, and the 3 of Swords. So we've got two energies here that are sort of bookending each other, and that is the 3 of Swords and the 8 of Cups. And I'm going to sing you the song, guys, that this is the first, like, I'm walking away. That's it. From the troubles in my mind, I'm walking away. Oh, to find a better day. That's what's going on with you. What you finally get to see and realize is that the true weight of the true weight of the old way of thinking, the old way of feeling, the true weight of the old way of perceiving yourself, you're realizing and knowing and understanding and releasing and healing from them. That's what we see here. We'll start with the 8 of Cups. Again, I've talked about the number 8, and we know that, and I've talked about the Cups energy. This is literally what we see on the card, to be honest. It's walking away from a heavy emotional cycle that you might have found yourself in, one that has demanded your strength. And as I said, the strength is because of the awareness. And it even says in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, that I love that book and I read that book, and it's because it's all about mindfulness, and everything that I do, and everything that every tarot reader, astrologer, medium does is about mindfulness, whether they know that or not. So when we talk about this energy of the cycle, the emotional cycle, the emotional wounds, this is the stuff, the karmic stuff that demands our strength. And it's only because of our awareness, it's only because of our mindful engagement, it's only because of, I'm sitting here today and I feel uncomfortable. That level of mindfulness, that level of awareness is not easy, as it says in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's not for everyone to engage that deeply with their emotional responses, with their mental responses, or their mental constructs, if you will. It's not easy for everybody, and indeed it says in the book, indeed not everyone should do it in their lives, but you are doing it, and that's what demands strength. It's not easy to live mindfully. It's not easy to always engage with what I am feeling physically and emotionally, what I am thinking in my mind, what I am doing physically with my body, where my head's going. It's not easy to live that way, to have a an eye, if you will, on every level of your existence and every level of your emotional, mental existence. It's not easy to live that way. And that's why it demands strength. And that's what you display over this time period. You display this strength. And it's that strength that helps you to walk away from the old ways, the old way of feeling about yourself. I feel like there's been a huge amount of low self-esteem actually for you in some area. And again, you suffer from it, just Taurus, because you're a Taurus, and I suffer from it because I'm a Capricorn, that people perceive us in a certain way. And because that these messages are always told, that becomes a part of our reality. It isn't real that we are always strong, that we are always confident. But because we're always told that we should be strong and we should be confident, we never allow ourselves to show ourselves our weakness, and we never let other people see that, or we very rarely do. Or that's something we have to mature into as earth signs, as people, actually. We have to mature into that. And that's what you are doing. You are, this time period, it's hard, isn't it? Being on lockdown, all the things that go with that, everything that's going on in the world right now as I record this at the beginning of May, it's hard. But this card shows that perspective that you gain. This shows, I liken this to seeing a Formula One racetrack from above. You are the drone and you see everything. You see all the kinks and the turns of the path. You see it all from this height. And what you see from this height, which is where you're at in July with the World card, is you see, whoa, that was a real sharp turn. That was a real difficult time. That were hard work. But you're above it all now. The healing has come in, and not only the healing has come in, source of stability. That's what we see with the World card. We know that with the World card, after this comes the Full card. So we know that we are really walking away from, we're at the end of the old ways of thinking, the old ways of perceiving ourselves, the old ways of behaving, even the old ways of treating myself. You're at the end of that old way. And as I said, that self-esteem that you had about yourself, we all have it. No person is immune from having, feelings of lack, feelings of I'm not worthy, blah, blah, blah. We all have feelings like that. In fact, in the Key Wisdom playlist, probably some of you will know, there's actually a conscious meditation that I recorded some time ago, which you can feel free to watch. And in that conscious meditation, it's called Why Am I Not Good Enough? And I talk about those feelings and how to overcome them, etc., etc. Might be something that you want to look at. You can go look at it. But what we see is you see, wow, that was hard. And not only that, it's so interesting when we have that type of perspective, is there's those hidden corners and those hidden turns where you didn't connect before, that old stuff made you do this. You thought that those two events were completely separate. You didn't realize that the way that you behave now was linked to that. But you see that, you have that foresight, that foresight and insight. I've said that 3 times because these cards all talk about the same themes, if you will. Because of the journey that you walk on, or the path that you walk over this next 3 months, you do start to be able to make those links and connections. And that's something, again, that our karma can tell us, that our karmic paths can tell us, and our experiences can tell us, that things that seemingly are completely unrelated really have a huge impact. So it's like, I spoke about PTSD. When I suffered from PTSD, 10 years I had PTSD. And it wasn't until I started obviously going through the healing of my PTSD. So I had CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, but ultimately I started meditation, and that's what it was, that both hand in hand. Started meditation one day, started meditation the day that I was referred to CBT with obviously a therapist. So I started meditation, and then about 3-4 weeks later I started my CBT, and I did both at the same time. And it was that combination for me that really helped me to release and to heal from some really difficult, traumatic, emotional experiences. But I was able to make those connections between I thought PTSD was just, oh, well, it just affects you in this way. You're just scared of this, or you just might be anxious about this. But actually, it limited the things that I did in my life. It limited the belief that I had in myself. It limited I didn't think that I could start my own business. I just thought I just had to stick doing that and I didn't realize that the two were connected, that it was actually connected to the PTSD, etc. And it's those type of connections that you get to make in the month. And it seems like a wrapping up month actually for you guys actually in July. So maybe that indicates that come August, the beginning, we're still in summer in August, aren't we? Just about, come August, maybe. I mean, I don't know because I've not looked at August yet. We'll look at August, and if we'll look at August in July, won't we, guys? But maybe things are starting to change in the world then, re-corona. Maybe the lockdowns are going to be lifted in the UK, or, maybe different restrictions, with your job, your specific job, what you're doing. Maybe you'll see an easing of restrictions there, because it seems like a wrapping up. So it really does seem like this time's over, if that makes sense. It seems like that sort of the time that you have in May and June and in the beginning of July to do that type of reflection, you might not have that after July. So it kind of indicates to me that maybe, August wise, maybe from there, maybe things will start shifting with regards to the lockdowns and you working from home or not, or the job that you're doing, etc. So that's something to keep in mind, and definitely come back and have a look, in that time period. Now, it's the year of 2020, it's the year of number 4, it's the year of the Emperor this year, and I've been talking about, we've seen, oh my gosh, we've seen so many number 4s, haven't we, in our daily pulses, and I'm saying to you guys, in April, it was just like heavy with number 4s. Every single day we'd have a different number 4, we'd have the Death card, we'd have the Emperor, we'd have the 4 of Swords, blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying to you guys, the thing about the number 4 is it's all about our structures, it's where we come from, it's about our family, it's about our DNA, it's about our roots. And the thing about what we do with number 4 is, and what the Emperor does is, the Emperor builds a world. So the Emperor lives in a world, or 2020, this is the world that we live in. And then what happens when you get to this point is that you start to look at and question, well, am I happy in the world that I've built? What adjustments do I need to make? Is this really authentic to me? Am I really, is my world really secure? These are the type of questions that you're asking yourself, but it's a confidence that you have here because you have learned so much. You have gained so much wisdom and learned so much about yourself, about how to apply your personal power, about the ability to manifest by releasing. So the only way we can manifest is by releasing the old, then we can create new, because it helps us to, by releasing the old, it means that we act differently. We put in new energy by releasing the old. We then put new energy in, and that brings different outcomes. It helps us to manifest the new. So all these type of questions, all these type of considerations, if you will, the Emperor is the boss at making those decisions. The Emperor is all love. And remember what I said to you right at the beginning, 4th chakra, love chakra, heart chakra. Remember what I said to you right at the beginning, freedom equals truth equals love. That's the truth. And that's where that's really, I could call this reading that freedom equals truth equals love, because you're allowing yourself to be free over this time period to ask yourself those questions about your life, about the status quo, about lockdown. Looks like lockdown may be coming to an end in that sense. The restrictiveness of how it affects your life now in May is going to be different come the 1st of August. And you are assessing, it looks like, in the month of July, where do I want to put my energy now? Am I secure in this? Is this really what I want to do? Is this really how I want to continue to build my life? And that's an interesting point and an interesting question. And you obviously clearly come to some sort of decision. And it really, what I feel linked is these two energies. Actually, I feel that these two energies are linked. Actually, I mean, they're all linked in a sense, because we're walking away, we're moving on, it's a new start. This is about the recognition of recognizing the traumas, if you will, a past trauma, a past hurt, something else that happened. If I remember rightly, yeah, I do remember rightly, this was the first card actually that I dealt. It was the first card I dealt. I went there, then there. Don't ask me, I remember that, but I do. I always remember some of the cards that I placed first. This was the first card that I placed down, and it's interesting that it's the 3 of Swords again. Sword energy, thought, mind, clarity, consciousness, communication, conscious engagement with your logical self, ability to reason, etc. Excuse me. This is all the sword energy. Number 3, it's linked to your third chakra again, solar plexus. So we start in the same place in a way, don't we? And again, that's about that's your power center, where your self-confidence comes from, your self-esteem, and your ability to manifest. And this is something that has restricted your self-esteem. Like I said, my PTSD, for example, I didn't realize that it restricted me from, I knew the immediate sort of, if you will, the immediate impact of having PTSD and having anxiety. Because I lived and felt the immediacy of that. But it wasn't until I had a bit of foresight, I'd started the meditation, I had a bit of space, if you will, from the PTSD. I was still suffering from it at that time, but having that space when I started with the meditation, etc., what it allowed me to do was to see and to make that connection with, oh my gosh, I can't believe that because I felt like this, I didn't actually have confidence to do this either, which I thought were completely unrelated. So it's that perception of yourself that is changing. The perception of what you think you can do, the perception of what you think you can manifest is actually changing. And actually what you want to bring into your life. You seem to be using this next 3 months. And this is why I wanted to do this extended reading. I wanted to give us a better foresight of, okay, how's this next 3 months going to affect us? Well, for you, it seems that over the next 3 months, you're not avoiding yourself, and neither should you. You're not avoiding yourself. You are not avoiding what you emotionally feel. You're not avoiding the traumas, the old wounds. You're not avoiding those things, because you realize that actually it's a source of strength, that by looking at that you feel more secure, not less secure. It doesn't weaken you by crying. It actually strengthens you, because actually by crying you release it. By talking about it, you release it. By confronting it, you release it. And actually, it helps you to feel stronger. That is the message for you guys over the next 3 months. It's an amazing time of growth, of healing, and of transformation for you, Taurus. And honestly, I truly couldn't be happy for you. I hope you enjoy the next 3 months. As I said, I'm here every single day on Kiwis and Tarot with these daily pulse readings, which are beautiful readings. So definitely come back to the channel for those, and I'll be back in a few months, obviously, with these extended readings for each individual signs. And keep an eye out for the astrology video all about the retrograde season, which we are now in, but it's going to be ramping up over the next couple of weeks. Okay, my darlings, have a wonderful couple of months. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you all again very soon for your own individual Taurus reading. Take care, my darlings. Bye.